Amid the dusty deserts of Iraq lies a path that millions walk every year. A path that goes beyond mere steps and miles.
You have to see this on your own. There are millions of people walking like a never-ending stream of love, the stream of hope. You cannot find words for this.
The pilgrimage to Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, has never ceased.
لم تقطع أبداً.
It is a journey of the heart, a pilgrimage of the soul, that brings believers from across the world to Karbala. But why do people embark on this challenging journey, facing heat and pain? The answer lies in the unwavering love for a man who sacrificed everything over 1300 years ago. Imam Hussein.
There is this heat in the hearts of believers for Hussein that never cools.
We follow in the footsteps of the pilgrims to Arbaeen, the largest annual gathering in the world.
We prepare, for example, 450,000 meals over 10 days.
We not only uncover the history behind this march, but also explore the timeless message of courage, resistance, and truth that Imam Hussein left through his martyrdom in Karbala. In the year 680 AD, a series of pivotal events unfolded, leading to one of the most heart-wrenching chapters in Islamic history. Imam Hussein, the grandson of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, stood in defiance of Yazid, the newly declared ruler of the Umayyad dynasty, who sought his allegiance to legitimize a reign marked by corruption and oppression. Enraged by Imam Hussein's refusal to submit, Yazid demanded either his pledge of loyalty or his death. Meanwhile, Imam Hussein received countless letters from the people of Kufa, pleading for his leadership to liberate them from Yazid's oppressive rule and to restore justice. To verify the sincerity of these invitations, he sent his cousin Muslim bin Aqil to Kufa. Muslim arrived to find initial support, with thousands pledging their loyalty to Hussein's cause. After receiving this good news, Imam Hussein and his family and a small group of companions marched peacefully toward Kufa. However, Yazid's governor in Kufa, Ibn Ziyad, quickly moved to crush the uprising of Muslim. Through intimidation and violence, the people of Kufa abandoned Muslim, leaving him isolated. Betrayed and alone, Muslim bin Aqil was captured and executed. Imam Hussein and his small group were intercepted and forced to halt on the barren plains of Karbala. Surrounded by Yazid's vast army, they were cut off from water and endured a relentless siege for days, marking the beginning of the final, heartbreaking chapter in the journey.
So guys, that's the first day of walking from Najaf to the holy city of Karbala, or I should say the first night of walking, because at night it's just 35 degrees Celsius, and let's see how this journey will go on.
The Arbaeen Walk is the largest annual pilgrimage in the world, where over 20 million people from around the globe travel on foot to the holy city of Karbala in Iraq. The journey typically begins from the city of Najaf, where Imam Ali, the father of Imam Hussein, is buried. The pilgrims pay their respects to him and walk the roughly 80-kilometer route to Karbala, the site of Imam Hussein's shrine.
The longer you are into this, the longer you're walking with this masses of people, the more you get the feeling that you're a part of this never-ending flow. You know, you can sit here all day long and watch those people passing by, and it never ends. There are thousands of people coming and walking. There's nothing like this in the world, you know?
So Arbaeen is a global universal message that every human being resonates with. Look at the values of justice, the values of generosity, the value of sacrifice. These are values we're all able to resonate with. That's what's connecting millions of people to walk and to go to one destination.
As millions walk the road to Karbala, it's important to remember that this pilgrimage, now a symbol of unity and peace, has not always been so freely undertaken. For centuries, many pilgrims faced persecution, violence, and even death for their attempts to honor the martyrdom of Imam Hussein.
الحكام حاربوا.
Rulers have always opposed everything related to Imam Hussein, peace be upon him, because Imam Hussein symbolizes the rejection of oppression and the pursuit of justice.
السعي لتحقيق العدالة.
بعض الحكام من الطغاة.
Some rulers and tyrants from ancient times to this very day have always tried to prevent people from visiting Imam Hussein.
يمنعون زيارة الحسين. مع أنه
They would openly declare that Hussein is dead, but if he is dead, why are they so afraid of him?
لماذا الخوف من الميت؟
يخاف أن يزوره الناس لأن زيارته.
The tyrant fears that people will visit him because his visitation instills in them the spirit of strength, courage, and the Husseini cause that defends religion even at the cost of losing everything dear.
يخاف من أن يستلهم الناس.
They fear that people will draw inspiration from Hussein's values when they visit him. How did they prevent it?
كيف يمنع الزيارة؟
يعني مثلا هناك لو رجعنا إلى الماضي.
For example, if we look back to the past during the time of the Abbasid Caliph al-Mutawakkil, known for his enmity towards the Holy Family of the Prophet, especially Hussein and his visitors, he ordered his men to demolish the grave of Hussein, and they did. Yet the Shia continued to visit Hussein, peace be upon him.
ولكن بقي الشيعة يأتون لزيارة الحسين سلام الله عليه.
فنقرأ.
For example, during the Abbasid era, there were decrees imposing monetary payments for those who visited Imam Hussein, peace be upon him. People paid these amounts, but then more severe measures were introduced. The rulers, seeing that people continued to visit, decreed that those who came for the pilgrimage would have their hands cut off.
قالوا من يأتي إلى الزيارة تقطع يده. But still, they did not stop. The believers would even present their hands to be cut off, so they could visit Imam Hussein. I say that these rulers not only believe that Hussein is alive, but that he is the one who grants life to the dead. That is why they fear the visitors of Hussein.
لذلك هم يخافون من زوار الحسين.
Arbaeen is by far the biggest human gathering in the world. And you have to imagine all these people, the millions upon millions of people have to sleep somewhere. They have to rest, they have to wash themselves, eat, drink. And all this happens only by the help of this Mawkibs. This one is a Mawkib as well. I'm sitting right here. The front part, which is directed to the walkway, is the part which is serving the people passing by. They're making food, they give massages, and the back part of these Mawkibs are the places where I am in right now. These are places where the people sleep, where you have the toilets, the bathrooms, and all the kitchen work is happening. This is at the back part of these Mawkibs. You have 2.5 million people in all Iraq who are voluntarily working at these Mawkibs. There is no payment, and all of these people are so engaged because of the love of Imam Hussein.
شاورما الدجاج بس دجاج وصمون حار وعندنا صوصج وعندنا صوصج وصمون حار وطماطم وبصيله وعنبه وصاص وكاتشب ومايونيز ومخلل الثوم.
You know, because for these people, the greatest honor is to serve a pilgrim of Imam Hussein.
كذلك الشعب العراقي هو يصرف.
The Iraqi people spend billions of dinars during these days with minimal intervention from the government.
للحكومة في مثل هذا الصرف.
من حيث العدد.
In terms of numbers, the sheer amount of free food distributed during Arbaeen is astonishing. More than $1.5 billion worth of food is given away in less than 20 days. This food, all of it, is funded by the poor people of Iraq. These same poor people distribute food worth about $1.5 billion. If we include the services provided, the total value could reach $2 billion.
Despite Iraq's limited infrastructure and logistical challenges, every need of the Arbaeen pilgrims is carefully considered. Along the route there are dedicated stations for washing clothes, repairing shoes and even fixing cell phones. During these few days, these services along with food and shelter are provided entirely free of charge, so that the pilgrims don't need to spend even a single dollar or dinar, ensuring the focus remains on the spiritual journey.
عشق به امام حسین عشق به امام حسین که بیایم اینجا به زوار امام حسین خدمت اما خودمون مدیون امام حسین که بیایم کاری که از دستمون برمیاد در دستگاه امام حسین خدمت کنیم به زوار
کلا این یه هفته‌ای که اینجا هستیم از لحاظ روحی از لحاظ معنوی انگار ارضا میشیم از تمام روحمون همه نمیتونم مثلا اون احساسی که دارم رو بیان بکنم یه حال هوای جدیدی رو داریم ما هر سال نسبت به سال قبل تجربه میکنیم
10 روز اومدیم موکب داریم با پاکستانی ها کار میکنیم یعنی پاکستانی و عرب و افغانی و اینا همه با هم هستیم هیچ فرق نمیکنه علم امام حسین همه یکیه فرق نمیکنه حب الحسین یجمعنا همشون حب حسین عاشق حسین پرچم امام حسین همشون یکیه علم امام حسین همیشه
You know what's interesting? These people come from around the world, you know? They come from the west, from the east, and they are all united in the love for Imam Hussein. And as soon as they are here, all become one, you know? There are no differences anymore. There is no rich and poor. There is no, you come from this country or this country. Everyone is the same. And this is one of the miracles of Imam Hussein, that everyone is united, no matter where we come from.
You find all types of backgrounds among the companions of Imam Hussein. For instance, you have Wahab al-Kalbi. He came from a Christian background. John, the servant of Abu Dhar, he came from a Christian background. You'll find the young and the old, men and women. You'll find children. You'll find Arabs, non-Arabs. You'll even find some people who were the enemies of the Ahlul Bayt because they were ignorant. But when they saw the message of Imam Hussein, it inspired them and they changed. And so when you look at the companions of Imam Hussein, you see a beautiful mosaic of humanity.
As we continue along the Arbaeen path, we stop at the Mawkib of the Zahra Trust, a humanitarian organization dedicated to providing aid and support to communities in need around the world.
Why do you think that people, no matter from where they come, in which Mawkib they work, in the whole Iraq, are so dedicated to work and sweat in the way of Imam Hussein? Why do you think is it that way?
I think for most people here, most of the Khuddam, most of the people that serve at the Mawkibs along the way, you can't come here and serve if you don't have a real love, I think, on some level for Imam Hussein, and it has to mean something to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would just get in a taxi and go to Karbala or go to Najaf or go anywhere, right? But we stay here and we serve, and I think most people will probably tell you that Imam Hussein, on some level, the story, the tragedy of Karbala has had some sort of transformative or profound impact on their lives, and that's why it means so much to us, and that's why we come here and we serve every year. And it's an honor and a blessing for us. As soon as it finishes, as soon as Arbaeen finishes, as difficult as the days are, you just wait for next year. Like, you can't wait. You just want to be back. It's such an overwhelming mix of things that, like, I can't even tell you why I was crying. I can't put it into words, but there's so much. And the brotherhood that you build with the guys, and like I said, there's language barriers. With some of these people, I can barely say more than 10 words, but I know that they would do anything for me, and vice versa. It's a unique place.
Yet this unique place, now filled with millions of pilgrims, was once the site of immense hardship. For 10 days, Imam Hussein and his whole family were held under siege on the scorching plains of Karbala, surrounded by 30,000 soldiers. Cut off from water and provisions, they endured extreme heat and thirst under the desert sun. Despite these unbearable conditions, Imam Hussein's mission remained clear. His sacrifice was aimed at saving Islam from being completely distorted and lost under the corrupt rule of Yazid. Imam Hussein sought to reveal the truth, showing the people who the rightful Imam of the time was, and standing against the falsehood that Yazid represented. As the day of Ashura dawned, the situation reached its tragic climax. Imam Hussein, alongside 72 loyal companions, prepared for a battle they knew would be their last. One by one they fought bravely in defense of their Imam and the truth he stood for. Even his family, including his young son and nephews, fought bravely until the end. In a heartbreaking moment, Imam Hussein's infant son was killed by an arrow to the neck, while Hussein pleaded for water for his thirsty child. The infant's death, while in his father's arms, remains one of the most tragic sacrifices of Ashura. Imam Hussein made his final stand with unwavering courage, facing the overwhelming army with nothing but faith and determination. Through his ultimate sacrifice, Imam Hussein illuminates the path, ensuring that the legacy of Islam would endure and that the people would understand who the divinely appointed leader truly was. His stand against Yazid was not just a battle, but a message to all times, a defense of the integrity of the faith.
One of the main reasons why Imam Hussein did this huge sacrifice was to show the people of his time who the Imam of the time was. Because the people at that time were very confused whether Yazid or Imam Hussein is the righteous ruler. And through this sacrifice, Imam Hussein separated truth from falsehood. And this is one of the reasons we are walking this way as well, to show our respect to Imam Mahdi, to the Imam of our time.
هر کی دوست داره جز اصحاب مهدی علیه السلام باشه منتظر باشه. منتظر یعنی همون خودشو بسازه، خودشو آماده بکنه، زمینه رو آماده بکنه.
اگه همه این چند میلیونی که میرن واقعا اون جوری که برای خودشون دعا میکنن و زجه میزنن، اون حال مضطری که برای گرفتاریای خودشون دارن، اگه برای مضطر واقعی عالم بخوان، ایش حتما فرج اتفاق میفته.
ما اول همه دعاهامون عجل ولیک الفرج. شاید اینو تو هر دعایی که میخوام بکنم 3 بار اول اینو میگم، بعد دعاهای دیگه‌مو میخوام.
راه نجاتمون فقط فرج مولامونه. این انشالله همه بخوان، همه واقعا از ته دل میخوان. این اون مضطری که پشت در اتاق عمل وایساده، پشت در آیسیو وایساده، چجور حالش چجوریه برای شفای مریضش؟ اونجوری بخوان. همین.
دیگه چیکار بکنه؟ فلیعمل بالورع. خودشو با اعمال، با ورع، با تقوا بسازه برای سربازی اون. این لازمشه.
اصحابشون چیکار کردن؟ ما همونجوری بشیم برای امام زمانه. دیگه خورش هم میزنیم، دعامون برای فرج باشه. گوشت خورد میکنیم، به نظر فرج باشه. نوکری میکنیم، هر کاری میکنیم نظر فرج باشه. ما یه قدم برای حجت ابن الحسن برداریم، آقا از همه حاجتامون خبر داره. دعا برای اون آقا بکنیم، خود آقا بلدن چیکار کنه.
When you study the tragedy of Karbala, you find that Imam Hussein alayhi salam wanted companions who were honest and willing to sacrifice and know who the Imam of their time was. That's why he filtered them. On the night of Ashura, he gave them the opportunity to leave. He wanted to test them and see who's really willing to stay only and only for the Imam of his time. Today we have an Imam, and that's Imam al-Mahdi, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajah. And he continues the same legacy as his grandfather, Imam Hussein. What really Imam al-Mahdi is looking in us is those pure souls who have the ma'rifah and the knowledge of the Imam of their time. So the Imam alayhi salam is filtering us through trials, through difficulties, he's filtering us. We have big slogans, we have big claims, But in these trials, Imam al-Mahdi is actually filtering us, just like his grandfather filtered his companions.
As we reflect on the importance of praying for Imam Mahdi's reappearance, it's clear that his arrival represents hope for justice and peace. But the path to this hope has been fraught with hardship. The Shia community in particular has endured years of persecution, most notably during the brutal regime of Saddam Hussein.
Of course, every Iraqi has a story about Saddam's oppression. In Husseini gatherings, when we heard a morning session, we would lower the volume of the radio or cassette player so that the government wouldn't hear it. When we wanted to cry because sometimes emotions would overwhelm us, maybe a child would come and say, "Lower your voice, cry quietly." Even inside our own homes, we did not have the freedom to mourn for Hussein. So imagine how it was outside, on the street or in the university where we were persecuted.
Likewise, during the previous regime under Saddam, there were also severe decrees issued against the visitors of Imam Hussein, particularly those who came walking on foot.
The Shia took the side roads along rivers and water paths, avoiding the main roads because Saddam not only banned and punished them, but also executed some of those who came for the pilgrimage.
The regime pursued them along all roads and gardens from which they traveled. However, people cooperated with the visitors, guiding them, providing food, and offering shelter to help them reach the shrine of Imam Hussein.
We were afraid to wear black clothing. If someone wore black on the street, the regime would demand proof that a first-degree relative had passed away. If a person grew out his beard during the days of Muharram, he was required to present a death certificate. There is an Iraqi custom that the beard is not trimmed for the first 40 days after the death of a first-degree relative. So if someone grew their beard, they could be imprisoned or even killed, depending on the mood of the state.
أنا أذكر في أيام داعش عندما هجم على العراق.
I remember during the days of ISIS, when they attacked Iraq and this oppressive terrorist enemy occupied large areas of the country. Explosions and killings spread throughout Iraq, and many Shia began performing the ablution of martyrdom. They would bid farewell to their family members and then leave, not caring whether they met death or death met them. They were indifferent to losing their wealth or even their lives, or to departing from this world altogether. What mattered most to them was earning the pleasure of God through the pilgrimage to Imam Hussein, peace be upon him.
برضا الله تبارك وتعالى بزيارة الحسين سلام الله عليه.
After the tragic events of Ashura, the aftermath was devastating for the family of Imam Hussein. The women and children were left to witness the horrors of the battlefield. Imam Hussein's camp was looted, and the remaining survivors were captured and paraded as prisoners. But the brutality did not end there. The captives, including Imam Hussein's sister Zainab and his son Imam Zainul Abidin, were forced to endure a long and humiliating journey. They were taken from Karbala to Kufa, where they stood before the governor Ibn Ziyad, who showed them no mercy. After their ordeal in Kufa, the captives were sent to Damascus, the seat of Yazid's government. Lady Zainab, despite the immense grief and suffering, displayed remarkable courage and strength throughout this painful journey. When they were finally brought before Yazid in his court, it was she who spoke boldly and fearlessly, condemning the tyrant's actions and defending the sacrifices made by her brother. Yazid, now under pressure and likely feeling the weight of public opinion turning against him, allowed them to return to Medina. Before returning home, the family led by Lady Zainab and Imam Zainul Abidin made a stop at Karbala on the 40th day after Ashura. This marked the first Arbaeen pilgrimage. Their return to Karbala was deeply significant as it allowed them to mourn Imam Hussein and his fallen companions at the very site of their martyrdom. This event, known as Arbaeen, became a moment of great sorrow, but also of defiance and remembrance, honoring the sacrifices made on the day of Ashura. The atmosphere is filled with a sense of anticipation, reverence and devotion as the final steps of our journey bring us closer to Karbala. The streets glow with lights and the air is filled with the sound of prayers and chants. Pilgrims from across the world who have traveled hundreds of kilometers on foot finally reach their destination, the shrine of Imam Hussein.
وويلا على المظلوم 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 وجهي راح وجهه للمرمي على وجهه واصرخ هاجمون القوم يا اخويا بساع النوم يا حسين
So it's finally done. After 4 days of walking and sweat and heat, we finally reached the holy shrine of Imam Hussein.
Everyone feels as if this event happened today, not 1400 years ago. It feels as though we are living through this event today, with our emotions deeply involved.
اليوم حدث ونعيش بمشاعرنا.
وبالتالي النبي
Thus the Holy Prophet and all the prophets, Imam Hussein, defended their messages from extinction, protected their efforts from being lost, and safeguarded all the divine messages from going in vain on the day of Ashura. Arbaeen serves as a renewal of the covenant with Imam Hussein by all believers. Every believer in the world is required to express gratitude to Imam Hussein for the preservation of their faith.
على أن دينه قد بقى.
You know, 80 kilometers at home is like half an hour driving with your car. But here it was 80 kilometers of pure emotion, of pure anticipation. In every step you're thinking about the Imam of your time. In every step you're thinking, I wished I could be there in Karbala when this tragedy happens. Look at those people. Look at those people. 1,300 years ago, this place was a place of a massacre, was a place of blood and agony. And now you have thousands upon thousands of people just in this place mourning for Imam Hussein. And you think of those tyrant rulers back then. Where are they now? Where are those rulers who tried to stop those loving people to come to Karbala? Now you can see they can do this. And
If believers truly understood the virtues and benefits of visiting Imam Hussein, they would never abandon it, whether during Arbaeen or at any other time.
We are seeing so many global challenges, so many innocent people being massacred. The ziyarah of Arbaeen is God's gift to humanity to rekindle that hope in our hearts. Don't ever forget, even if life becomes difficult and injustice becomes widespread, that you have a Lord and you have an Imam.
No matter which religion you belong to, try everything to experience this event even one time in your life. It will change your worldview. These few days is something you cannot experience anywhere in the world. And my advice from the bottom of my heart is to you to experience this. And even if you experience it one time, come again and again. It will fill your heart with energy. It will fill your heart with emotion and dedication to change yourself, to change your life.
The story of Karbala is not simply a chapter in history. It is an eternal message that speaks to the very core of humanity. It lives on in the hearts and souls of millions who remember it every year. From the tragic events on the plains of Karbala to the endurance of Imam Hussein's family in captivity, the legacy of Ashura continues to resonate. The Arbaeen pilgrimage is more than just a walk. It is a testament to the power of sacrifice and resilience. These steps are not just a tribute to Imam Hussein. They are a reaffirmation of the allegiance to the Imam of the time. It is a story of ultimate sacrifice, one that has touched the hearts of believers for over 1300 years and will continue to do so for centuries to come. This is the legacy of Karbala. This is the power of Arbaeen.